We're continuing the Silver Lake Regional School Committee meeting for July 13th, and we are being recorded. And we are on our last agenda item.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
do we need to designate our treasurer for the next fiscal year? Agenda item number 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at an older agenda. Okay.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we hire Sean Duffy to be our treasurer for the FY24 fiscal year.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
May I just ask a question? When you say hire, is that a paid position?
So there's 2 people we employ as the school committee. We employ Russ, he's our employee, not the district's employee, and we employ John Duffy as our treasurer. So yeah, we need to handle the contract.
And that was an audit suggestion by the outside auditors for a few years before we, maybe,
I was the last treasurer that was the school committee member,
yeah.
which I thought was a gross miscarriage of our fiduciary responsibilities, considering I don't have a background in finance. And I had to get bonded heavily to make sure that I wasn't doing anything inappropriate with those funds. So through the auditors and working with Christine and Joy, we moved over to having a professional treasurer, which most regional school committees do have.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. No, it's a good question. Very good question. Any others? Okay. There was a second to that motion, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Now the approval of the minutes. Oh, no, I'm sorry, close out. Okay.
Approval of minutes is before we go to our list.
They just, we did it. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh my God. In your electronic package is a copy of the closeout for tonight. We have had a really difficult past couple of weeks. We've had some illness, some people not being in the office. We've really struggled to get this done. So I'm saying that next week we may actually have an additional warrant to complete. We weren't able to complete this week, but this is as good as it can be for today, for right now. So we captured all of the items that have happened within our, tried to capture all the items that happened within our operating budget during FY23, whether it's payroll or vendors and things like that. So we also, on the cover sheet that's in that in your folders, we have a listing of all the POs that have been carried over from FY23 to FY24. We spent $27,995,764.80. We had a balance of $270,000 before we applied all of our encumbrances. Our final balance is $143,622.99. That may change based on what we find between tomorrow and Monday. We're trying to capture everything. We really struggle with your also with homeless transportation just because of when the situation happens. It's not, we don't know if it's a day, a week, a month, and it's 15 to 17 different vendors, so we struggle to communicate with all the different information. So I wouldn't be surprised if that number went down a lot. But as you know, this number will go back to E&D to fund E&D. The other side of that formula funding E&D is our revenues. And right now, our revenues are in excess of last year. The primary contributing factor is our net meeting agreement. We have had the revenues of $455,000 in excess of the $255,000 like budgeted. And year to date, from May of 2014 through now, we just passed $3 million coming in through that agreement. So it's worked for us. This year is extraordinary because of the price of electricity that's being sold on the open market. I think the last payment I received, it was 35.9 cents per kilowatt hour. And we know that's not what I'm paying for this, but so on the open market, that's what the price is, and I don't expect it to stay there. But so I'm really hesitant to change those anticipated revenues year to year because the plant could shut down for any reason. That could be planned out. I ask every year if it's going to be a planned maintenance. I think still say there isn't, but we had one experience where we shut down for several weeks because a bird flew into one of the pieces of equipment. So it can happen. So we wouldn't want our budget solely relying on that. So there are excess revenue from there and excess revenue from our Chapter 70 and our regional transportation money from DESI. And keep in mind that when we do the budget, when we anticipate our revenues, we do that based on the government's budget, which tends to be the floor. So we're receiving about $200,000 in additional revenues from that. And the only thing in addition to that would be interest that we receive on our bank accounts, and Medicare we receive reimbursement for services that we provide to students. So with those numbers going back to our E&D, plus the E&D that we had certified at just over $1 million, we have also budgeted for the FY24 capital plan to come out of there. On paper, it looks like we're going to be coming into approximately the same place that we are right now, falling under the 5%. And that was something I was mindful of, is if we really would exceed the 5%. But right now, it does not appear that we will. So I just want to share that.
Christine, if you don't mind, because you do such a nice job of explaining what it is, we have some new committee members, and the net metering is so unique. So if you would.
Surely. May of 2014, a net metering agreement started between us and a solar facility that's in Dartmouth, Mass. The way the facility works, they have to come up with municipal partners that could collectively meet the output of the electricity. Our electricity usage in a year is about 3.6 million kilowatt hours. So that was actually, to do these sites, they have to have municipal partners. So we're partnered up with a Carver. We are 60% of the site, they are 40% of the site. Every month we receive an invoice from the folks that run the plant, Fisher Solar. They run the plant and they charge us 10 cents per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour generated on the site. So every month we get an invoice. The following month we get a check from National Health from Carver, because the check goes from National Grid to Carver, reimbursing us for whatever it's sold on the open market. I'd say up until this past year and a half, the average would be about 14 to 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So the revenue that we make is that difference between the 14 and 15 cents that we get from 10 cents that we buy it for. So our budget every year is in the $200,000 range. We've pretty much met that every year. This year, it has been extraordinary because the price of electricity on the open market is selling at a much greater rate. It's at, I said it's earlier, 35.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So we've been making some significant funds with that. So it started May 2014, and then I also mentioned that to date, we have had a net revenue of $3 million from that. So it's pretty amazing that it has been. It's a significant item in our budget. The plant is supposed to run for 20 years, but they can run longer. Each year, the plant produces a little less. It's at about half of the percentage point of the generation. It decreases every year of the generation. But we haven't seen anything significant since 2014, and so we're 9 years in, and it has worked for us. Does that make sense to those that work in the agreement? And I should also mention more about the E&D. E&D is our excess and deficiency account. That's where our surplus revenues and the budget that we haven't spent goes to. That's like our savings account. Every year that needs to be certified by the Mass Department of Revenue to allow us to use it. One of the ways we use it is to fund our capital plan. So that's how we any excess revenues fund our capital plan, and then it's also there in case of emergencies. One of the recent memories of our emergency was the year that we had snowstorm after snowstorm and our roofs had to be cleared out. That was immediate. We didn't have that sitting in our budget. We had that access to our E&D that surplus that was out there. But the towns that would have to give approval, so we need to make sure that it's a critical item. Are there any questions? Does that make sense?
Could you repeat one more time how many kilowatts are we?
How many kilowatts?
Per year.
All right, so our it's based on the usage of the departments that they have. So our 3.6 million kilowatt hours represents 60% of the output of that site.
So we're using 3.6 million.
Well, 3.6 is what we're actually paying for our resource bill.
Oh, amazing.
We use approximately 3.6 kilowatt hours. For these partners to come together and use municipalities to help them fund the projects, they need to match
Workers' liability, yeah, this one just separated.
with the partners they have brought together. So between us and Carver, we need the total 6 million kilowatt hours of that plant generates every year. And then our 60% of that's at 3.6 million kilowatt hours. But because of that, we've already committed all of our usage to a project. So we're not eligible to participate in other projects because we're kind of maxed out in our capacity to do that right now. Well,
I think it's remarkable, again, that we're talking about approaching 5% for E&D at this point. The excess and deficiency fund can only be carried to up to 5% of, is it our total budget or is it?
it's our total budget, operating budget plus our capital budget. So the last year's calculations, it's just under 1.5 million is where 5% again.
So if we were to ever exceed the 5% in E&D, we would return those funds in a reduction of the assessment to the towns for the
Yes.
next year. We had years where we thought we were going to wipe E&D basically down to zero because we've been funding our capital plan out of E&D for the past 8 years now. I think if it wasn't for this net metering agreement, we wouldn't have been able to do the building envelope mitigation that we've accomplished in warranting our roofs of all the buildings in the district. So I'm ecstatic to hear that we have remaining balances and excesses so high. And this evening we had a SAFER meeting. And I am no longer the chair of SAFER. Thanks to Mark stepping back into the breach for us. We did talk about the admin building, so this presents potential an opportunity for us to address the admin building and some of this excess right now tonight in light of the fact of the numbers that Christine just gave us. So we've met a few times now with some consultants who've given us some very rough ideas of what the building for the admin building could look like in the future. But we're actually at the point where we need to move on to some next steps, some next phases, where we get deeper designs. We hire an OPM. We also do some survey work of the land, inciting of some traffic patterns, potentially where we're going to site the new admin building. If we really want to approach the towns in the next year and a half, about committing some of the debt that's going to roll off from the Silver Lake High School and the Silver Lake Middle School and put it towards this admin building. We need about $150,000 to put towards that next step in the design feasibility steps. These are real concrete steps. As many of you know, I've spoken with members of all three towns, select boards and finance committees, just to let them know about our ideas and our plans for how we might use some of that debt rolling off. I've shown them some of these preliminary design sketches of their admin buildings. They're ready to sink their teeth into those more detailed documents that the consultant told us $150,000 tonight would be enough to do. And this evening, we did take a vote to advise the Silver Lake Regional School Committee to move forward with spending $150,000 on the next steps of the designs for the admin building. So in light of what Christine said today about having some of these excess funds, I would like to make that proposal this evening.
Can I ask a question where it's not on the agenda? Can we do that?
So I would defer to Russ, but where it was an item that was unforeseen at the time of the posting that just came to light through Christine's presentation?
I mean, this is a fairly major issue to vote on without a particular. I mean, technically, you potentially could, but I wouldn't normally do it that way.
Okay.
We could hold, that is our vote, our recommendation.
Yep.
And so,
But if we wanted to have another meeting at a separate time, I think time is of the essence here to a certain extent. If we could have a quick virtual meeting that we publicly post and put that
Yep.
on,
Yep.
that would be great. If not, we're looking at our next meeting is sometime in September.
We will need to meet before then because we will have the finalized regional agreement ready for town meeting presentation. So we're going to have to meet jointly again, I'm going to suspect probably early to mid-August, to review that with the town officials and a couple of other things. So if we could wait 2 to 3 weeks, we could put that on our agenda as well.
If we could make sure that makes the agenda.
Yep, absolutely.
You said the town officials will be there.
Yes, yep,
Maybe we'll bring back a consultant for a presentation.
yeah. It might be a great use of time, actually, everybody's time, because we'll have the town officials there, like you said, so.
Thank you.
Excellent.
If you wouldn't mind reaching out.
Yep.
Have them come back and do a little bit of this presentation.
Well, yeah,
Something,
yeah. That'd be fantastic if we could get some traction.
For us, that's fine, we understand totally.
Yep.
Maybe less.
Yeah. Okay,
And we'll sit.
All right.
For any questions.
all right. Well, I think if there are no further questions, we could have a motion to adjourn. The future,
Motion for the closeout.
I would accept the closeout as presented.
I make a motion to accept the closeout as presented by Christine.
Second?
okay, no further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Now, Christine, if that number changes, we amend?
Yeah, I could bring that to the next meeting with any, every time we do this, there are some small adjustments, but if there's anything significant, we can bring it back and have it reloaded.
Okay, all right. Okay, dates to keep in mind, August 30th is the first day of school, September 4th, Labor Day, and September 7th is our next currently scheduled school committee meeting. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.